a valve replacement, which nowadays it's so-called routine, quote unquote. Okay? But it's a major surgery. Okay, so we have two of these. Basically, we've seen the bicuspid over here. Which one? One of these. Oh, that's a good one. Good. I guess it's on the other side. So when we look at the other side, the right side here, you can see all three of these valves. And this is pretty thin, not as heavy as the other one. There's going to be variation from heart to heart. But again, you see the same things, and where the chordae tendineae are attached to the muscle mass, that's a papillary muscle, okay? And so essentially the three cusps here also close, and they're held in check by the papillary muscles, okay? Everybody follow that? So the blood goes down, this begins to contract, this actually forces the AV valves closed on both sides, the chordae tendineae tense up, holding them, keeping them from blowing through, and the pressure continues to increase. And then eventually it reaches a point where it actually pushes past the other muscles, which are valves, not muscles. The other valves, which you see one of here, kind of torn up. Oh, that's very torn up. Let's look at, see if we have a better one here. Oh, here. This one's pretty good. So here's one. Again, this is going into the aorta, and I'll see if I can't fill this up a little bit. So you see I just put my finger in part of a valve right here. It's a flap of tissue, and these are called essentially the pulmonary semilunar valves. Okay, sorry, this is aortic semilunar valve. They're called semilunar because they look like little shirt pockets. You can see if I move that around a little bit, looks like a little shirt pocket. If you were to excise that all the way around, there's three of these that are around the total circumference of the aorta and of the pulmonary trunk. And if you were to excise those all the way around and then lay them flat, they would look like half moons. So hence the term semilunar. Okay? But it's just like a shirt pocket. When the blood goes, when the pressure is high enough, it pushes past these, pushing them against the wall of the vessel, and then amount of blood is squirted out during the contraction, systolic contraction. When this muscle then relaxes, the blood flow reverses and it fills these up. And when they all fill up together, they close everything off. So that represents actually a second heart sound. So the first heart sound that one hears is the closing of the atrioventricular valves. The second heart sound is the closing of the semilunar valves. So there are semilunar valves at the base of the aorta and also at the base of the pulmonary trunk. And I don't have one of those showing up per se, but if you were to look, I think for most of these, you either put your finger down or look down, you can feel, in this one you can feel the semilunar valve that stops your finger when you go down there. Okay? So they basically ensure a one-way flow unless there's damage to them. All right? So again, semilunar valves, and you can see a piece of one here, in this vessel. And they're on both the aorta, base of the aorta and the base of the pulmonary trunk. Okay? The atrioventricular valves represent, and the easiest way to think of this, they represent the boundary between the atria and the ventricles. So where you see that, the atrioventricular valves are right there, that's where it's going into the ventricle. And during diastole, which is when the blood is filling, this is a passive situation for the most part. So blood just kind of goes right through since there's nothing preventing it from getting through. Now, these hearts, because they're preserved, it's real hard to move it around. That's not true in living tissue. Very flexible. It just relaxes, the blood flows through, it fills up just like by gravity feed. Okay? What else do we need to see here?
Trabeculae carneae.
The trabeculae carneae are down at the bottom of the major structures, and I'm going to open this, kind of spread this open a little bit. You'll see some large folds of muscle. You see how the muscle's in ridges? Everybody see that? See those ridges there? Here's one right there, a big fat one. So, and if you look at it on several of the other specimens, you'll see the same kind of thing. We can get those to open up a little bit. This is, you see some ridges that show up in there, inside the muscle mass. Those are the trabeculae carni. And the significance of those is you have the outside muscle basically collapsing the ventricles from the sides, squeezing in like a tube of toothpaste. The trabeculae carni, when they contract, they shorten the apex towards the base. So they squish it, superior to, inferior towards the superior in that aspect, okay? And so those are working together. Now the other muscles that are in the, let's see if I have this, in the atria, and we saw this a little bit ago. I want to show it on, no, that's not a very good one. Might have to get another hard out. I thought I had a better one that showed this. Well, this shows it pretty well here. So I'm going to distort this one a little bit. If you look at the atrium, this is the left atrium. You can see that crosswork of little muscle strands in there. You see that?
Where at? I'm sorry.
See right up in here, see how they're
Okay.
crossed? They look like little strands of muscle. You see that?
Weird.
Looks kind of a strange thing. And they all go all kinds of different directions. They look like little round struts there. Those are called the pectinate muscles. And the significance of those is you find them in both of the atria, and they extend all the way up into the auricle portions. And the fact is they kind of interleave and go in different directions so that when the atria contract, they just crunch down. So they don't have a smooth where they squish up like this. They do a little crunch. And so that crunch it forces the blood, when these contract, it forces the blood directly down into the ventricles, okay? So the pectinate muscles are designed so when they contract, which is the last part of diastole, there's the diastole of the ventricles, there is an atrial systole, and they actually force the last 20 to 30% of the blood volume into the ventricles, okay? But that's why they have this weird shape that one sees. It looks like fingers or little strands going in lots of different directions. So you see that
Octopus, yeah.
very weird, looks like, octopus kind of looking structure. You see that? See it right there? So it's important to realize because the orientation of the fibers, these are bundles of myocardial cells, and their orientation determines, the actual nature of how it's going to contract and push the blood. So this actually kind of, because it's kind of enmeshed together, it pushes down, straight down, without any kind of directionality, because they don't have to be highly directional. And you can see that in some of the other ones, although some of these other specimens are a little bit less intact. You can even see it in little parts of going all the way out to the auricle there, okay? Okay, so